So talking about our very simplified platform, which is also very modular, because it's so efficient and so lightweight and takes so little power to move, it actually costs about half to build versus a typical EV. And it's 3 to 4 times as efficient as a typical EV. And with our composite construction, it's still very safe and very reliable. This is a good overview picture of our vehicle architecture. The first thing you'll notice is it's 3 wheels. 3 wheels is intriguing to us because when you ditch the 4th wheel, you lose a good bit of weight and you gain in aerodynamics. I give the equation to people I describe this to of front-wheel drive race cars. When you have a race car going around the track, whenever it takes an aggressive turn, it actually lifts the inside rear wheel. So in aggressive traction situations with front-wheel drive vehicles, you don't actually get the benefit of a 4th wheel. So why do you actually need a 4th wheel? Well, 4th wheels seem to be just a relic of automotive design, which evolved out of horse and buggy design, which 4 wheels on 4 corners it's just how it started. But if you really rethought how to design a vehicle for efficiency, you'd come to the conclusion that that 4th wheel is just a lot of extra weight and isn't getting you a lot of extra handling characteristics. So you might as well ditch it if you're on a quest to be less than 100 watt hours per mile. We've built a great team here at Aptera. Steve and myself have co-founded the company. Steve is an electrical engineer and a pilot. He built the world's largest advanced hydroponics farm over in Abu Dhabi and has done amazing things in his career, including creating one of the world's largest DNA synthesizing robots for Illumina. I'm a finance guy, but stick mostly to the mechanical engineering here at Upterra. I've had a history in computing and network services and in the brokerage world, and being a finance guy, ended up being able to start several of my own companies, including a successful boat company, Epic Boats, and a lithium battery company, which I took public to the NASDAQ several years ago, Flux Power, ticker symbol FLUX, and now Aptera. Sarah Hardwick comes to us with 2 decades of experience in the marketing world, running her own agency, and Janice Burlingame has been with us for 9-10 months now, and she's a wonderful addition. She's had experiences with over a dozen IPOs and SPACs. She's on the board of a SPAC, and she's creating the framework to get us to be a public company here very shortly. With such an efficient vehicle platform and such a great team, we're really bringing to the market record-breaking performance. There's nothing like the Upterra in terms of its aerodynamics and lightweightness. It's the lowest drag of any production vehicle ever by far, but it's still not a slouch in terms of performance. 0 to 60 for the all-wheel drive version of the Upterra is about 3.5 seconds. And with the front-wheel drive Aptera, it's about 5.5 seconds. So it's still a very performance-y vehicle. We just had a track day with one of the vehicles that's behind me over there, the Beta, through that curtain. But it is a screamer with all-wheel drive. We had a great track day, and zipping around the corners on a racetrack at 100 miles an hour in a vehicle that still is the most efficient vehicle platform ever created and is powered by the sun is something pretty amazing. One of our biggest attributes and something that I think is getting us the most press right now and recognition is our ability to be charged by the sun. On our vehicle, we have solar panels on the hood, on the dashboard, on the roof, and on the rear hatch. In total, they give us about 700 watts of charging power for the vehicle on a nice sunny day. And that 700 watts over the course of a summer day can get you over 4.4 kilowatt hours of charging back into your battery pack. Really think of our solar charging as kind of a trickle charger for your battery pack. It just sets on the vehicle, and as long as you're in the sun, it recharges your battery every day. So we have several different battery range options. We have a 250-mile range battery, a 400, a 600, and a 1,000-mile range battery. So you can take a 400-mile trip, and if you park the Aptera for the next day, you can get 40 miles of charge back into your battery pack. It works great for people that have, kind of predictable drive cycles. If you drive less than 40 miles a day, you just never have to plug the Aptera in. This kind of freedom from having to charge is definitely a novelty in the EV world. When you buy a typical EV, you usually have to pay for the charging infrastructure to keep that vehicle charged. I have a big EV that I drive now. I love it. It's fast. It's comfy. But I had to install a $3,500 charger in my garage to be able to charge it with 240 volts at 50 amps. And that gets me about 150 miles of range overnight into my electric vehicle. Because the Aptera is 4 times as efficient as my current EV, I can charge it in my garage with a regular 110 outlet, and I can get over 150 miles range back into the Aptera just from a very small outlet. So I think having the ability to charge the Aptera by the sun and not having to have big charging infrastructure when you do run the battery pack down and need to plug in is just an amazing attribute for the Aptera. It's also nice that the vehicle is so efficient because when you're on, say, a road trip, you can charge a lot quicker at the roadside charging stations. With a typical 50 kilowatt charger, you can charge the Aptera to over 500 miles an hour, which means, with just a 20-minute stop at a rest stop, you can get over 200 miles of range back into your Aptera and be back on the road for your road trip. I do see people adding in questions. Feel free to ask any questions along the way. I'll answer at the end and try to get to all the questions that I can. We talked about some of the vehicle specifications, but something to note is that the Aptera is not a small vehicle. You see the Aptera behind me here. In pictures, it sometimes seems that the Aptera might be small, but it is not. It is as wide as a Ford F-150 pickup truck or a Tesla Model S, and it is as long as a Prius. It is 2 passengers side by side, but it actually has a ton of storage in the back, 26 cubic feet, which is a good amount of storage. We have a video online where we go to Costco and we buy several of those mega packs of toilet paper and paper towels and fill up the rear. And it is quite a sight how much you can hold in the back. We also have a camping kit, which you can see behind me that the rear hatch of the vehicle is open. That hatch has a tent that can go over it, and you can sleep 2 people in the back of the Aptera with your head facing towards the rear and the seats folded up. You have about 7 feet from the back of the seats to the tail of the vehicle. So you can sleep looking up at the stars through the rear hatch with your nice tent covering you up. And you can be charging your Aptera during the day. So you can go on a 200-mile trip to go camping and let your Aptera charge and actually come back with more fuel in your tank than you left with, which is an amazing proposition. What other adventure vehicle actually charges itself while you're on your adventure without you having to find a plug or anything like that? We have 3 different color and interior options. The one behind me is called Luna. It is our gray. We have one that's called Soul. It is the white exterior color, and one that's called Noir, which is a black exterior color. And then we have different interior color options. One is kind of a vibrant, has some orange accents called Vita, one that has some blue accents, which is called Coast, and one that's a little more techie, which is called Codex. The price range of the Aptera is between $25,900 and $46,000, and that mostly is dependent on how big a battery pack option you choose. So, obviously the smallest battery pack option is the 250-mile range option, and that's the lowest cost option. You can also upgrade your drivetrain to be just front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. That increases stability in snow because you can control 3 wheels for stability control if you have the all-wheel drive, or the front-wheel drive, which is more for just typical drive cycle. So if you want to go fast, or if you live in ice and snow, maybe the all-wheel drive version is for you. But if you don't live in ice and snow and don't really care about 3.5 seconds, 0 to 60, then you can just get the front-wheel drive version of the Aptera. An interesting note on this is we just had a $7,500 tax credit pass through the House, and now it sits at the Senate. So that $7,500 tax credit would bring the Upterra price down to $18,400 for the base vehicle, and we think that is quite a bargain for almost anyone that's looking for electric vehicle transportation, or something that's reasonably affordable for transportation in general. But the three-wheeled version of the vehicle that I just described, with all its wonderful features and options, is just the beginning for Aptera as a company. We really aspire to make transportation in general more efficient, to make the world a more efficient place. And we think our aerodynamic, lightweight, super efficient powertrain, solar-powered vehicle is extensible to almost any vehicle platform. So whether it's four-wheeled sedan type vehicles, or whether it's crossover type vehicles or utility, package delivery is something we've been talking more and more about. In Southern California, we have Amazon Prime delivery vans driving all over the place, delivering pandemic packages to people. And wouldn't it be great if all of those packages were delivered with free power from the sun, and something that didn't tax the grid in these different areas with a bigger, less efficient electric vehicle platform. We've been very successful since our launch about a year ago. We now have over 16,000 orders for the Aptera, and we continue with the Regulation A plus crowdfunding, where we have almost 10,000 investors now. That puts us on a nice pace to ramp our new production facility, which is up here in Carlsbad, California. We've signed agreements on over 100,000, almost 120,000 square feet of space. Now we're hiring up aggressively, trying to hire up several hundred more people over the next few months here. Our team is growing rapidly, and we hope to deliver our first vehicle by the end of this year. That takes a cooperative supply chain, which has been a bit elusive through the pandemic, but one that seems to be calming down now. We've signed several strategic supply agreements with big suppliers over the last few months, and I think things are pointing very well towards finishing the beta design is what you saw through the curtain there. The vehicle behind me is actually an alpha design. So we're running through the design cycle of alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and delta being a pre-production vehicle. We hope to have that vehicle ready this summer. And that would position us well to be able to do all of our validation and calibration to have that vehicle ready for consumers by the end of this year. Then we plan to scale production of that vehicle in 2023. We feel our facility here in Carlsbad is capable of 10 to 20,000 vehicles worth of production. After that, we would want to open up a new factory somewhere. We anticipate not opening up a big monolithic factory that has 1 million square feet of space. We plan on opening smaller kind of satellite factories that can exist all over the world. So right now we're starting in Southern California. It's a hotbed for sales for us. But then Northern California, Texas, Virginia, maybe Georgia, the UK, the Netherlands, or that area of the world, Australia, Spain, Germany has a lot of orders for us. But we plan on kind of opening smaller factories that are capable of 10 to 20,000 vehicles worth of production, and then sprinkle those around. That will give us the ability to service our Apteras that are out in the field easier, because we'll have parts and service supply a lot closer to those people. And we'll be able to take advantage of local incentives to bring jobs to the area and capitalize on plants like that. We've had just an enormous outpouring of support for Upterra since we launched the vehicle about a year ago. We have over 16,000 orders for the vehicles. We have almost 10,000 investors. We have tons of global ambassadors, over 500 ambassadors, people with Aptera business cards that have local meetings to talk about the virtues of Aptera and how we can make the world a more efficient place by adapting our transportation to something that's just much more efficient. We have an amazing email newsletter list, which, personally, I haven't signed up for a newsletter in a long time. So it's amazing that we have so many people that have signed up for the Aptera newsletter. More amazing that the people are really engaged on those newsletters. Usually newsletters, you send them out and you expect maybe 10 or 12% of the people to actually, open those newsletters, and maybe a small fraction of them actually click on links. The last newsletter that Aptera sent out, over 80% of the people in the first day opened that newsletter. And then a further 60% of those people actually clicked on a link to watch a video or go to our website after they read that newsletter, which is just incredible engagement, for a day after you send out a newsletter like this. So we have, social media fans that continue to grow every day. So it's amazing to see, things on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter get so many likes and get so many engagements, and really, spark conversation about what we're trying to do to make the world a more efficient place. Some conversation about, kind of how we're positioning the business and how we're raising funds. I think we've done amazingly well to utilize our Reg A Plus crowdfunding to bring in people that support Aptera and want to put skin in the game, so to speak. To have almost 10,000 investors now is just amazing. And we currently have a round open, so you can feel free to go to our website and invest. It's just aptera.us. Click on the green link to learn more. We will continue to do our crowdfunding for probably until we have a solid path for our IPO and are starting to raise money around that IPO. So with Janice Burlingame on board, we're making great progress. We're starting to put together that strategy now, and I think we're bringing together some great partners to make that happen. I think I'll jump into questions now. Looks like we have right at about 8 minutes, so that seems like a good amount of time. But I haven't been reading them as I've been going, so give me a second to read some of the questions, and I'll try to answer them as I go. will you show what the solar hatch looks like? There are pictures on our website, and you can go and see what the solar hatch looks like. Basically, the solar hatch takes away the rear glass, which is on the vehicle behind me here, and replaces it with solar. The hatch is the largest solar area on the vehicle, so it does add quite a bit of range, but the solar hatch is an option for us. When will the skin cooling be showed off is a question. We don't have a radiator in the Aptera. You'll notice in the vehicle that's over my shoulder here, there's no kind of inlet duct in the front of the vehicle to take in air and push it through a radiator. Our radiator is the skin of the vehicle. So the belly of the vehicle is actually the radiator, and as air flows over the belly, it actually removes heat from all of our components. Luckily, because we have such an efficient vehicle platform, we don't create as much heat as other typical EVs would, so we don't have to shed as much heat. So it's very counterintuitive on how something like that would work, but it works great for us because we have such an efficient vehicle platform. We have a question on, will Elafe have a beta test vehicle for winter testing at their track in Slovenia? The answer is probably, but we haven't really sorted out the details of that, and if it makes sense to ship a vehicle to them in Europe to do that winter testing, or if we should do that somewhere here in the States or up in Canada. A question is, why hasn't the investment round been fully closed after mentioning it? Aptera's round has been a rolling close. So we've been kind of advancing our Series A through different prices as we have more capital available to us and as we progress our designs here. So, obviously we feel like our valuation should reflect not only the execution risk of us making this business model successful, but also, how much, we've advanced the current designs and how much money we have in the bank. So, as we've raised more money, we've also raised our valuation. So we're continuing to raise our valuation as the round progresses, and we'll continue to do that until, we have a solid IPO path and start raising money around that IPO path. A question is, as a three-wheeler, do you have to register it with the DMV as a motorcycle? Yes, the Upterra is a motorcycle. That gets you motorcycle insurance rates. It gets you motorcycle registration rates. But because it has three wheels, you don't need a motorcycle license. And because you have something over your head to protect you, you don't need to wear a helmet. So it actually creates a lower barrier to entry for us because, we can get the vehicles on the road. We're a registered federal motor vehicle manufacturer. I can sell you that vehicle that's behind me. And, we still go through all the same kind of FMVSS safety test and stuff bigger vehicles would go through, but we can just enter the market much, much quicker. The vehicle's named Aptera, but it was referred to as the Roadster in some SEC filings. We have referred to this vehicle as the Roadster, but in general, we just call it the Upterra. We're a very new vehicle concept to the masses, so we don't want to confuse them with the nomenclature of, different vehicle types or variants. It's just the Upterra. You can get the Upterra in many different range options and some different drivetrain options, but it's just Upterra. Are you utilizing Flux Power tech in the Aptera? Obviously, Flux Power is a company near and dear to my heart. I started it on the basis of advanced battery management tech, technology that keeps large format batteries healthy over their life and records every charge and discharge cycle. But no, we have developed our own battery tech and are pushing that into production now. Explain the decision to wrap rather than paint. We have been exploring different options on what the body coating will be to give it its color over time. We still haven't determined whether that's going to be in mold color or if we're going to exterior paint the vehicle or vinyl wrap the vehicle. We're doing testing now to try to figure out which option is best for us. We'll announce that as we get closer to production. When will the range validation be complete? We're still working on finalizing our battery pack configurations. And as our battery pack configurations get nailed down, then we'll be able to actually take, that battery pack variant out and test it for what range you get with what battery pack. Obviously, the amount of cells that are in it, the cell chemistry, what vendor we're getting them from, the kind of safety factors that we have on the pack for charging and discharge, all add into how far you can go, per charge, per given battery pack. So we're working on that and should have some more information later this summer, probably. Did you say the first beta was all-wheel drive? Yes, the beta that I showed through the curtain is all-wheel drive, and it's a screamer. Pins you back to the seat, quicker than you can imagine. And the roll-on acceleration is just it's just crazy. The tax credit for three-wheeled vehicles is already approved and happening. Yes, to my knowledge, it's already passed the House, and it's working its way through the Senate now. What is the Aptera planning to do about its side view mirrors? We're working on a digital mirror solution, so you can have screens on the interior to get a rear view sight picture, but it hasn't been approved by NHTSA yet, so we're still relying on standard reflective mirrors on the sides for now, and augmenting them with the digital system inside on top of that. What is the planned production order and area of distribution? We hope to ship to the world very early on. We're a right to repair company, so we let people have the information about how to service their vehicles and ship them the parts within 24 hours. We hope that allows people in very rural places to have the Aptera sooner rather than later. But we do plan to ship the 40 kilowatt hour Aptera first, the 25 kilowatt Aptera second, the 60 and 100 kilowatt hour versions of the Aptera last. So if you have an order for an Aptera and you want an early one, the 400 mile range version is probably what we're going to ship first. It looks like we're running out of time, but I greatly appreciate everyone's questions. I greatly appreciate any investors that are on the call. Thank you so much for supporting Aptera's vision for a more efficient transportation future.